Hello and welcome. I'm Melinda Kinlami. Tonight, APC lawmakers in the Benue State House of Assembly give notice of impeachment to Governor Samuel Ortom, suspend 22 of their colleagues. State Governor describes action as illegal. Imo State Deputy Governor Eze Madumere impeached after court stopped a 7-man panel from carrying out his investigations into allegations of gross misconduct against him. President Muhammadu Buhari insists he's not bothered by the gale of defections by politicians across the country as he joins other leaders at the ECOWAS and ECA summit in Lome, Togo. And Zimbabweans turn out in large numbers to elect a new president in the first poll after Robert Mugabe's 37-year rule.
On business news tonight, OPEC's oil output hits its highest this year as more output from Gulf members and new member Congo Republic raises cartel's production level.
On sports news, the Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa oversees hoisting of flags of participating countries for the 2018 African Athletics Championships at the Stephen Keshi Stadium.
Nigerians asked to promptly report cases of human trafficking within and outside the country as the world marks International Day Against Human Trafficking.
We begin tonight from Benue State, where some lawmakers from the All Progressives Congress, APC, believed to be loyal to Senator George Akume, moved the motion of impeachment against Governor Samuel Ortom, accusing him of allegedly diverting state funds and abusing office. The lawmakers also announced the suspension of the 15 members who decamped to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, last week. But in a swift reaction, 19 PDP lawmakers out of the initial 22 that impeached Mr. Iyange last week suspended the 7 APC lawmakers for allegedly violating the court order restraining the impeached speaker and his colleagues.
It all began as early as 6 a.m. when armed policemen and officials of the Department of State Services barricaded the road leading to the Benue State House of Assembly complex in Makurdi. Their presence drew the attention of youths who got information that APC lawmakers were in the Assembly complex and sitting to serve an impeachment notice on the state governor. They attempted to gain access into the complex, but were dispersed with tear gas canisters fired in the air. Other lawmakers also tried to gain entry into the assembly and were denied access. After the drama at the assembly, the impeached speaker, Terry Kimbi Ikiange, told journalists that 12 lawmakers attended his faction sitting, while the remaining 15 were suspended for 6 months and the motion to impeach the governor moved.
We considered the honourable members that invaded the chambers of the House of Assembly, causing a lot of unrest in the state and breaching the peace that we have been enjoying in the state. And then we looked at their conduct. That was not acceptable. The motion was moved for the suspension, and 15 honourable members were given 6 months suspension.
At the old banquet hall of the government house, the remaining 19 lawmakers announced the suspension of the 7 who were part of the session in the assembly complex.
We have resolved, and I have said, that of all the 7 members that made their way into Benue State House of Assembly chambers, claiming to have sat, we sat legitimately in a properly constituted house and suspended all of them for a period of 6 months. We have also requested the international community to beam their searchlight on what is happening in the Benue State House Assembly.
But with all of this unfolding in the legislature, the man in the eye of the storm, Governor Samuel Ortom, believes the police is working against him for defecting from the All Progressives Congress to the People's Democratic Party, describing the impeachment motion against him as an act of illegality.
What is my offense? Have I not got the right to decide to associate with any political association of my choice. Is it the first time they are doing it? Even in America, defection is not a crime. And so I want to call on Mr. President to protect this democracy that made him president.
But he is not the only one who feels wrong about the action of the lawmakers.
This is an illegal action, and we are extremely surprised that under democracy, a minority group can be given this kind of unimpeded access with security to cause illegality. And we members of the National Assembly frown at this extremely, and we came here to pay our solidarity to the governor and the people of Benue State.
While the APC faction claimed that it had the required number of 12 lawmakers to form a quorum, 19 PDP lawmakers out of the 22 that carried out last week's impeachment of Mr. Ekyange disagree, claiming that the APC lawmakers could not have had 12 members if 19 of them are together, while 3 others were on their way to honor a scheduled appointment with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Meanwhile, the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, have described as a desecration of the legislative sanctity the ongoing situation in Benue State. In a statement jointly signed by their media aides, they said the action of the lawmakers is an illegality and does not conform to parliamentary procedure on impeachment. Both leaders further stated that the situation has grave consequences for the nation's democracy and it represents a throwback to the period of dictatorship in the country. The Senate President and the Speaker are calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to call the police to order and stop them from being used to settle political scores. And the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has been kicking against the plot by some lawmakers in Benue State to impeach Governor Otom. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Kola Olobodinyo, told journalists in Abuja that the notice of impeachment served to the governor is illegal.
To let you know that we have considered unfolding developments and issues happening in Benue State, particularly as they concern the State House of Assembly and the stability of elected government of Benue State. The National Working Committee condemns in its entirety the purported sitting of 8 APC members, including the impeached and suspended Speaker, in a House of 30 members, wherein they illegally claim to have served an impeachment notice on the governor of Benue State, Dr. Samuel Otom. It's also on record that the ex-vice Speaker had been impeached, suspended, and restrained by a court of competent jurisdiction from parading himself as Speaker. So it is strange to us that the same Speaker will be brought back to the chambers of the State House of Assembly by a forceful act to commence an illegal impeachment notice. In spite of this, it's also shocking that no fewer than 300 policemen were alleged to have escorted the impeached Speaker to the State House of Assembly to initiate a disgraceful and manifestly illegal process. Our party warns against deliberate acts which were maliciously designed to truncate democracy by employing underhand tactics to achieve what is inconceivable in a democracy.
In Imo State, House of Assembly lawmakers have impeached the deputy governor. Mr. Eze Madumeri was removed by 19 of the 27 members of the assembly. The action follows the indictment of the impeached deputy governor by a report of a 7-man panel constituted by the chief judge of the state to investigate allegations of gross misconduct against him. Earlier today, a high court sitting in Owerri had granted Mr. Madumeri an interim injunction restraining the 7-man panel constituted by the chief judge of the state from continuing with its inquiry. The court, presided over by Justice Benjamin Iheka, ordered the restraint that's until the matters before it that borders on alleged constitutional breach was heard. But one of the lawmakers, Kennedy Ibe, explains the position of the House.
The 13 members out of the 27 members of the House of Assembly submitted allegations of gross misconduct against the Deputy Governor of the state, alleging, amongst others, that he is guilty of a gross dereliction of duties. And my committee sat and we looked at it and we said there were five points, and we looked at them and they were all very strong points, including that of being an ex-convict. And on Friday, the report of the committee was turned in. And then today the House sat and we considered the report, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, that if the report is not favorable, that is it. But if the report supports the allegation by the members of the House, then that is it. So we considered it, and the report came, and it was a favorable report, saying that the allegations have been investigated and they are strong enough, to be held against the Deputy Governor.
Meanwhile, in Kano State, lawmakers in the State House of Assembly have effected another change of leadership barely 2 months after the last one was put in place. The House resumed from a 2-month recess, and the first function it carried out was the impeachment of its Speaker, Abdullahi Atta, and 2 other principal officers. Alassane Rurum was elected as the new Speaker. The former Speaker was impeached by 24 out of the 40 lawmakers over alleged incompetence, corruption, and failure to carry the Assembly members along. And President Muhammadu Buhari says he's not ruffled by the defections of some National Assembly members of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. The president was responding to questions during an interactive session with the Nigerian community in Lome, Togo, where he said that most Nigerians appreciated the performance of his administration. According to him, and I quote, "I am not bothered about the defections. Ordinary Nigerians have developed confidence in us and are defending us. I assure you, majority of Nigerians back home are appreciative of our efforts." End of quote. The president also assured that his administration remains committed in keeping to its campaign promises of providing security, improving the economy, and fighting corruption. In his words, again, and I quote, "I assure you that we are making progress in security as some displaced farmers are returning to their farms. We will continue to work very hard for our dear country." End of quote. He also took a swipe at past governments, saying if they had utilized 25% of the oil revenue available to them at the time, Nigerians would not be complaining today, while making reference to the $16 billion reportedly spent on electricity without any visible results. And while in Congo, the president joined other leaders at a joint meeting of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS. The leaders discussed issues of common security threats to countries in West Africa and the Central African states, as well as plans to tackle terrorism, transborder crimes, and other forms of violent extremism. The president will join other leaders for the 53rd ordinary session of the ECOWAS AU Authority of Heads of State and Governments, and that will be taking place tomorrow.